Welcome to lesson 12 of this 13-part tutorial series in which we're creating a working Pacman game in Scratch. Now, so far we've got our Pacman game in our maze able to collect these pills, and we have a ghost that is able to capture Pacman and kill him. And he has 3 lives, and when those 3 lives are over, the game ends. But at the moment we're still missing a crucial part of the game. The ghosts are the enemy, but occasionally Pacman is able to get the ghosts. Now, if you've ever played the real Pacman game and you remember that, there are sometimes large pills, super pills, scattered around the maze, usually about 4 of them. And if Pacman manages to eat one of those super pills, then that turns Pacman into Super Pacman. He has a special power, the ability to eat the ghosts. The ghosts get scared as soon as Pacman has captured one of these, and they run away from him and turn blue. So while the ghosts are blue, Pacman can eat them, and he gets extra score for doing that. So that's what we're going to add in this lesson. So quite a lot of code in this one. So you might need to keep pausing the video as we go through, but let's have a look at how to get started with this. So the first step in creating this super pill or super tablet, whatever we're going to call it, is I'm going to duplicate one of these existing pills. So one of these ordinary pills here, I'm going to simply duplicate that. So that's sprite 5 there. It has some code, and of course we'll want that code in our super pill as well. So I'm simply going to right click on one of these ordinary pills and choose duplicate. There it is, it's appeared there. I'm going to put this just in the middle here, because while we're testing the game, we'll want to be able to see that this is working. We might move this around further away later on. Now, at the moment, that of course looks exactly the same as all the other pills. So I want to make this a little bit bigger. Let's try doubling it. So here is the size, currently 20. I'm going to increase that to 40. That's maybe a little big, although I don't know, maybe that'll do. I'll leave it at that for now. Of course, you might not find the number is the right one for you. 40 may not be suitable for you because it depends very much on how you've drawn your sprite originally. Of course, if you don't want to duplicate one of these and you want to create your own sprite for the super pill, that's absolutely fine. Just remember though that you will need a copy of all this code here still, because the super pill will behave much like the rest of them. So the score will be set to 0 at the beginning of the game. The super pill will need to be shown because of course it's possible that in the last game Pacman ate the pill and it disappeared. And then we'll need to do a forever loop that is checking if touching Pacman, if Pacman and this super pill are touching. And if they are, then we can change the score. Now, normally these tablets are changing the score by 1. I think we can do better than that for the super pill. So if he eats one of the super pills, let's increase his score by 25. And then, of course, to make sure he can't capture the pill multiple times, we then hide the pill for the rest of this level. So there we are. If we were to run this game now, so let's get Pacman down to here. At the moment you can see the score at the top left is 0, and if I go through this pill you can see that score has jumped to 25 and the super pill has disappeared. So that's fine so far. Let's just come out of that. I'm going to just play the game briefly and then stop it just so that this super pill is visible again, because of course it's just been hidden. So we've duplicated the pill, we've made it bigger, we've added a bigger score for it. I think what we can also do is to possibly change the sprite name, because down here it looks very much the same as all of the ordinary pills. It's hard to know which one is which. So with this one selected, where at the top it says, in my case, sprite 12, I'm going to change that to pill 1, because of course we'll probably have 4 of those big pills. So now we have the big pill, but what we need to do now is to make sure that when Pacman touches the big pill, some things happen. So there are various things that are going to happen, and the Pacman and the ghost will both need to know that the pill has been eaten. So the ghost will need to know, because he'll then need to turn blue, and he will need to make sure that he can't capture Pacman, and Pacman will need to know so that if he touches the ghost, rather than dying, he gets some extra score. So let's have a look now at the ghost, because we've talked about the ghost changing to blue, but at the moment, of course, he can't do that. Let's click on the ghost sprite here, and then at the top left, click on costumes. So here in costumes, what I'm going to do is to click on the fill button here on the left. And in fact, what I'm going to do is, rather than changing this one here, of course, I need to make a duplicate copy of this ghost so he looks exactly the same. So I'm going to right click on this sprite here and click duplicate. And I'm going to name these two costumes now. So this first one here, I'll just call this red costume. There we go. And this one here, I will call this blue costume. Now it's not very blue at the moment, this one, so let's change that. Let's click in the fill category here and choose a blue color for the ghost. Let's choose a slightly darker blue than the maze, so something like that. There we go, somewhere in that region will do, doesn't have to be exact. And now with the fill bucket selected and the blue color, I'm going to hover over the rectangle first of all and click on that, and then I'll hover over the head bit and click on that. And there we are, we have a blue ghost, and you can see that just over here. I am going to add one more thing just for fun. I'm going to click on the circle here and choose black just by taking the brightness all the way down. I'm going to create a little black circle there, and I'm going to move that into the middle. I know this is not normal for Pacman. I just think that looks a little bit fun. So there he is. He's now looking a bit more scared. So we have our blue ghost, and we've named those two costumes. I'll just click on the red costume to begin with, and of course that's something that's going to be important, because when the game begins we will want to make sure that the ghost is wearing its normal coloured costume. So let's just do that now. So right at the beginning of the game, when the green flag is clicked, we are sending him to his beginning position and also making sure he's visible. So just before he's visible, let's make sure he's dressed in the appropriate costume. So I'm going to go to looks, and here we've got switch costume to. Now it says blue costume because it's the different one to the one he's wearing now, but I'm going to change that to red costume and then bring that back up there. So when the game begins, he is going to make sure that he has the right costume on. Right, so let's now go back to the Superpill here and add a little bit of code into this. What we're going to do is use the broadcast method. Now we've done this before where one sprite can send a secret message to all of the other sprites in the game. So it can let them know what's happened so they all react appropriately. So what we've got here is this code, this if block just here that says if we're touching Pacman, then what do? We change the score by 25 and we hide. But what we also want to do is to then send a message to Pacman and to the ghost that he has now captured the pill. So what we'll do is head over to the events section here and get ourselves this broadcast message. Now this one says broadcast game over. That's obviously the wrong message. So let's click on new message here and we'll call this Superpill. So this message will be sent out whenever he captures the Superpill. So if touching Pacman, change the score by 25 and hide, And let's also make sure that right at the beginning here, it doesn't really matter too much which order these go in, but I'm going to put this at the beginning just to make sure there's no delay. We're going to send this Superpill message out to all the other sprites. So now let's have a look at the ghost. Let's do the code for the ghost. So what is the ghost going to do when it receives that message Superpill? Well, panic, of course, is the main thing here. So let's grab in the ghost code here, let's grab from events the when I receive message, and we'll change that to Superpill. So when I receive Superpill, what are we going to do? Well, the first thing he's going to do is change costume. He's going to look like he's scared. He's going to have the blue costume on. So we'll go to looks and we'll switch the costume to the blue costume. So there we are, he's now wearing the blue costume, and we'll keep that costume for about 10 seconds. So we'll give him about 10 seconds for the moment. So we'll go to the controls section and we'll grab a wait block, and we'll wait about 10 seconds. Now for testing the game, I may need to increase that a little bit just so that I have the opportunity to capture the ghost and to check that it's all working. But 10 seconds is probably what we'll have for the real game. So the ghost will switch costume to blue, wait 10 seconds, and then of course he'll switch back to the costume that he should be wearing, the red costume. There we go. So that's mostly it as far as the ghost is concerned. So now we've got the ghost reacting. Let's just test the game again here. Let's just run this. Now I may not be able to get all the way up to the ghost in 10 seconds, but we'll have a go. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here. I'm going to grab the blue, the Superpill. Now you can see that the ghost has gone blue, and I'm going to go up here and see if I can catch him. Oh no, I didn't quite get there. So of course if I was to catch the ghost now, I would die. So what I'm going to do, and this is something which game developers do a lot, is to put a secret cheat in there. All I'm going to do is just make sure that when I capture the Superpill, it actually is going to stay like that for 20 seconds. You'll find that a lot of games have cheat codes in. You may well have come across or used cheat codes for games already, and those cheat codes really are there so that the developers, when they're making the game, can jump ahead to part of the game or get a superpower that means they don't have to worry about a particular danger, so that they can test a part of the game that's further on. So that's what they're there for. So that just temporarily puts in a little bit of an extra time for us. So let's try that again now. Let's click the green flag. So let's go down, grab the Superpill. The ghost turns blue. Now we've got 20 seconds. Can I get there in 20 seconds? Yes, I can. And you will see the problem. So the problem there is that the ghost, although it's blue, is now able to still kill me. Another problem we've got is that once Pacman has respawned, you see the ghost was still blue. And really, once Pacman is dead, we probably wouldn't want that. So what we need to do is to make sure that while the ghost is blue, it's not able to kill Pacman. So let's move on and have a look how to do that. So what we need to do is to create a kind of variable here, which we call a boolean variable. Now, a boolean variable is something which is either true or it's false. It can only be one thing or another. A little like a light switch. They can only be on or off. We want to know whether the ghosts are blue or not, or whether the Pacman has the superpower or not. It can be one thing or another. So let's go to variables and create a new variable. Now, Scratch doesn't have the ability to create different types of variables. It's quite gentle as far as a programming language is concerned, and you can pretty much store whatever you like inside any variable. But this is going to be used as a Boolean variable. That word Boolean, named after a mathematician, Charles Boole, that is something which you'll find in most programming languages, certainly text-based programming languages, that is a specific type of variable that can only store the word true or the word false. So what we're going to do here is use the name blue. So we're just going to have this variable called blue, and we can't put true or false into it. All we can do is to put either a 0 or a 1 into it. So a 0 will be off and a 1 will be on. So at the beginning of the game, of course, right at the beginning of the game, let's go to Pacman and put it in the Pacman code here. Doesn't really matter where it goes, to be honest, but we'll do it in the Pacman code here. So we'll grab a green flag, and this is where things begin. So here we've got the show Pacman, set live to 3, go to the beginning point, all that kind of stuff that happens at the beginning. What we'll do there is we will set that Boolean variable blue to 0. So that's off, which means this blue superpower is not on. So he doesn't have that ability. Now, of course, when he grabs the pill, we want to turn that superpower on. So let's go to the pill sprite now. And here, of course, we're broadcasting the message Superpill, changing the score and everything. Let's also set this blue superpower to 1, which means that superpower is now on. Let's put that in there. Again, it doesn't matter too much what the order is, because all of these 4 things will happen when the Superpill and Pacman touch. So somewhere in there, we will set that blue superpower to be on. Now, Pacman doesn't really change when he has that superpower. He doesn't look any different. He doesn't act any different. It's really just the ghost which is going to behave differently. We've already got that ghost changing to a blue costume for, in this case, 20 seconds. But what else is it that needs to change? Well, we have some code over here. Let me just move this apart slightly so we can see this nice and clearly, because in the ghost code, we have this if block just here. In fact, we have 2 if blocks just underneath this move 2 steps. And the first of these if blocks, if I just split them, this one here, you can see, this one is the one that says if the ghost is touching Pacman, then what do? We broadcast the message, got Pacman, we hide, wait 3 seconds, go back to the beginning and show. And that got Pacman, of course, is what causes Pacman to die. But we don't want to do this stuff here if Pacman is super, if he has that superpower. So what we want to do here is say if we're touching Pacman and the blue variable is 0. So if we're touching Pacman and he doesn't have the superpower, then yes, do all this. So what we need to do here is just change what's inside this if question. If we're touching Pacman and something. So let's go to operators and grab the and block just here. And the touching Pacman is the first thing. So touching Pacman and what else? Blue should be equal to 0. So we need an equals operator. That's also in operators there. Grab the equals. So something is equal to something else. And in this case, it's the blue variable is equal to 0. So now this code will only run if Pacman doesn't have the superpower, if blue is switched off. We can test that. Let me just put this code back together here and put all of this just underneath this move 2 steps, like that. You don't have to pull your code out like I did. I was doing that just to show you the particular block. All you need to do is to simply change the if touching Pacman to be this if touching Pacman and blue equals 0. Nothing else here has been changed at this point. Let's run the game now and see the difference that makes. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the Superpill. There we are. And now you can see the ghost is blue and I am useless at moving. There we are. Can we get up there? And there we are. So you can see I am passing through the ghost and he is not bothered at all. So he is fine. So the ghost can no longer affect me. However, after 20 seconds, of course, he will go coloured again. And we have a problem. So although the 20 seconds are over, we've now not got Pacman affecting the ghost, or the ghost is no longer bothered by him. So if we have a little look at what's happening here, we've got in the pill, Superpill code here, we've got blue changing to 1. So Pacman has that superpower. Where is it that we are switching that superpower off? Well, so far, only one place, and that's the beginning of the Pacman code. So at the beginning of the game, that superpower is switched off. It's switched on whenever he touches the Superpill, but so far, it's never turned off. So when should it be turned off? Well, we already know that the ghost is going to be blue for 20 seconds, and then it's going to go back to coloured. It's at that point, when it goes back to a coloured state, that we need the superpower to be turned off. So we can do that easily by going into the ghost sprite here. Here's our when I receive Superpill, switch to the blue costume, wait 20 seconds, switch to the red costume, and let's set the blue variable off. So that's 0. Remember, the blue variable is our boolean variable, on or off, in this case 0 or 1. So that's now set that off, which means that once the ghost goes coloured again, he will be dangerous. So what we need to do now is to think about the other problem that we could see there in the demonstration, that obviously Pacman is able to pass through the ghost when it's blue, but he's not able to eat the ghost or get a score. So if we just run this again, so have a look at this. Let's go down, get the Superpill, turn the ghosts blue. I really am bad at playing this game. I've got myself completely stuck. If I'm not quick, I'm going to end up missing the ghost. So there we are. We can pass through the ghost while he's blue, so that's fine. And then, there we go. So as soon as he's gone back to a coloured state, he's dangerous again. Right, so what we need to do now is to add the code so that when Pacman passes through the blue ghost, he is going to get a score. Now we've already got, if we click on the ghost code here, we've got this if block we just put in, or just edited rather, that says if touching Pacman and blue is off, then what do? We can simply do another block like that. Let's just split those apart for the moment, and I'm going to duplicate this block. And this if block is going to go underneath the first one. So let me just zoom out so you can see the overall structure here. Excuse me. So I'm going to bring this one underneath that one, and this touching blue underneath the second one. And then I can put all of this back underneath the move 2 steps. So all I've done is to take a copy of this if block that says if touching Pacman and blue is off. I've made a copy of that entire if block and just slotted it straight underneath. But of course this block is not saying the same thing. There's no point doing that. This if question says if touching Pacman and blue is off, what do? This one is saying if touching Pacman and blue is on, what do? So I've changed that number here to 1. So what is it we need to happen if Pacman and the ghost touch and Pacman has a superpower? Let's just pull out these instructions. These are all the things currently inside that if block. Let's have a look at which of these we want. So do we want to broadcast the fact that we've killed Pacman? No, because we haven't. Do we want the ghost to hide? Yes, probably we do. We want the ghost to disappear so it's not visible because it's been eaten. So that one we'll put back in there. We do want that. Wait 3 seconds. Do we want to wait? Yes, we probably do. Do we want to go back to the beginning point? Yes, probably. Do we want to show again? Well, obviously, otherwise he's going to be hidden for the rest of the game. So it's most of the same code, except we don't announce that Pacman dies. But what else needs to go in? We've removed one block, but we need to put another block in there. And that, of course, is giving Pacman a boost in his score. So what we're also going to do in here is to change the score by, and it's up to you what you put in here. Let's change score by, I'm going to give him a whole 100 extra points for killing the ghost. So I'm going to put that one right in here after the hide. So when he touches Pacman, and Pacman has the superpower, the ghost hides, Pacman gets a bonus score of 100, and then 3 seconds later the ghost will respawn. However, at the moment, of course, the ghost is going to respawn blue if Pacman has managed to catch him within those last few seconds. Let's have a little look at how the game is working so far. Let's see what we've got here. I think what I might do, actually, just to make this a little bit easier, let me just quickly click the green flag and then the red dot to restart the game. Because I'm so utterly useless at playing the game, I'm going to move both the pill and the ghost a little bit closer so that Pacman has a better chance, or rather, I have a better chance of actually capturing the ghost. There we go. If you're having the same difficulty, you probably aren't, but if you're having the same difficulty trying to capture the ghost just to test your code, then that's fine. You can move things closer, and then once you know your code is working, you can start to spread them back out again. That's perfectly okay. Let's click the green flag then. Now we've clicked the green flag, and you'll see that at the moment the score has gone up by 25 straight away. Now I don't think Pacman was right next to this to the pills. Let's just stop the game and restart it and make sure that's okay. Okay, so we've started the game, and straight away I see what's happening. Can you see what's happening? Okay, so when I moved the super pill down to the bottom, it looked as though it was to the left of Pacman, but actually the super pill is right pretty much on where Pacman starts. So what I'll need to do is click on this pill here so I can see that it's visible, and I think I'll need to move that pill. How am I going to move it if it's invisible? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just to make sure that Pacman starts somewhere differently. Let's just move Pacman's starting position. So his starting position at the moment is 189. Let's just change that to 5089. So he's starting to the right of that now. So now I can move this super pill up slightly out of the way, and then I will get Pacman to start back at 189. There we go. So I'm going to click on the green flag again. There we go. So now let's go and grab the super pill, and let's go and get the ghost. And there we go. So you can see my score has gone up to 127. The ghost is still blue, and I can actually eat him a second time. And now he's still blue, but of course I've got 20 seconds on there, so he's going to stay blue for quite a long time. There we are. So game over now. So we can capture the ghosts multiple times while they are blue, and that's all working fine. I think I'm happy with that. So at this point then, we've pretty much got the game working. Pacman can eat the ghosts when he has the super pill, and the ghosts don't kill Pacman when he touches them and he has that superpower, and when the game begins everything resets nicely. So we're fine with all of that. The next thing we need to do really is just to make the game a bit more interesting. How? Well, what I'm going to show you is how to duplicate the ghosts. We've only got one ghost at the moment, and that does make it fairly easy. I think we want to have at least 4 ghosts in there, Inky, Binky, Pinky and Clyde. So we need to have at least 4 ghosts in our maze scattered around it. Of course, we could also have more of these tablets, and you probably do. I've been a bit lazy. We also want to duplicate this super pill and put 4 of those around there. And so I'll cover those 2 little things in the next video. which is the final video in this series, but I'm also going to leave you with some suggestions of ways in which you can improve the game as well. Because although this is now almost very, very close now to a fully working Pacman game, there are some features which you could consider adding. So I'll cover those in the next and the last video in this series. So when you're ready, I'll see you then.